Namaste and welcome to another episode of the Bharat Varta Weekly. I am Roshan Karyappa. I have with me Abhishek Paul and Neerav Kanodra to run you through the week that was. We'll talk about the implementation of the Citizenship Amendment Act or the CAA, the public release of the electoral bond records, Election Commission's announcement of the Lok Sabha poll dates, former Haryana Chief Minister Khattar resigning his post, and a couple of other interesting incidents that happened last week. All of this and more on the Bharat Varta Weekly. If this is your first time on the channel, don't forget to follow or subscribe to this platform so you can get updates on politics, policy, and culture. Well, let's go on with the news of the week. Last week, the State Bank of India shared records of electoral bonds bought in the country since April 2019 with the Election Commission. The Election Commission later made these records public on its website, claiming transparency. According to the list, the BJP has received nearly 50% of all donations, while the TMC ranks in the second place and the Congress in the third. Politicians and commentators from both sides of the aisle have accused the others of corruption by making assumptions, as the list does not tie the donors to the party. Neerav, we spoke about this a few weeks back, I should say, and we called it, we termed it as the perfect as the enemy of the good, right? What do you make of the split in the donations and so on and so on?
Okay, so one is, as you would expect, the party which is winning the most is probably the most popular, so should get most number. Surprising thing is, TMC has gotten more versus like its electoral share. So TMC and DMK, I would say, punch above their weight in terms of like their wins in the Lok Sabha, but also in the Vidhan Sabha, they've got like a strong majority. So I think that says one thing. Second thing is, see, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Is this better than the previous system, which was a lot of it was cash, a lot of it was like not traceable, etc. So probably the electoral bonds gave one thing, which was gave anonymity to the donor, but also gave clean money to the parties instead of like cash. And if it's cash involved, there are like other issues with it, and there's less accountability. I think a lot of the opposition was assuming that they'll nail down BJP with it, but it shows like a widespread distribution. Yes, any form of electoral funding, whether it is direct or indirect, in a world which is functioning well, you should have access to courts in case of any unlawful or any favoritism done, because there will be an aggrieved party which could probably file a suit, and there should be other redressal mechanisms. So that is there, and like finally, I think this is a thing which will gather a lot of noise right now. But if you ask me, maybe a month from now, before, like, we'll talk about the election dates, but a month or two from now, this will all be kind of like forgotten with like the weekly news cycle. So there's not much to see over there. This is a data which is there on the Election Commission now website as well, and yeah, it is, and the usual suspects, what people would have expected, like the big conglomerates, their name doesn't come up directly, but obviously they are also smart enough to do it via shell companies, and they have the resources, etc. And like, to be fair, like a lot of people like to support or bet on the horse they think is winning. So that is one. If it had turned around, you would have thought about who's more popular or who's got more power. And second thing is that a lot of smart businessmen or large business groups actually donate to both the parties, because what they want to do is they want to be neutral, and no matter who's in power, have like some sort of a good relationship or curry some favors in one way or another. This happens even in like other democracies, in the US, in the UK, in Europe, etc. So there are issues. For a fact, like a lot of times there are unions which donate to certain parties. Even in the West, there are a lot of unions which are aligned more to the Democrat Party, like United Auto Workers Union, which is very popular in the US, the largest one. So even within India, you have these All India Trade Union Congress, and like some unions affiliated to Congress, some to like the Communists, some to Shiv Sena. So there are people who make legitimate donations. Electoral bonds was another way, and uh, let's see. We don't know how this thing progresses, but I think uh, this is just going to like fly away, and we won't be talking about this a month from now. And this may not really be a major election issue either ways.
Yeah. No, I think earlier you had the case of a lack of transparency in terms of not just the identity of the donors, but also whether the money was legit or not, right? I mean, through the electoral bonds which Mr. Arun Jaitley had mooted, right? At least the money, one part of it, one part of the equation was sort of legitimized, right? Um, yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult sort of a proposition, right? I mean, there are no perfect answers. What do you make of all of these people who are trying to find a correlation between the amount of money donated and perhaps some contract awarded and so on and so forth?
So, see, most contracts that should be awarded should be in like a clean bidding process or some sort. If there's any sort of favoritism, or now that this data is out there, if somebody wants to go ahead and file a lawsuit, or the parties which lost the bids, etc., if they are aggrieved parties involved, then they should go ahead and take it to the courts. I think, see, this is, people have asked for this data, someone has asked for it. Now that it is available, any aggrieved party should make use of this data, see if it works out to their advantage or no.
Yeah. I think we'll see a bunch of cases in
But
the courts for
maybe there
sure.
is something, maybe there is nothing. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I think that will happen, and there should be like a redressal mechanism. So there's no system which is perfect. That's why you might have disputes, and if you have disputes, that's why we need courts, and judgment should be made on those things. And we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is that the bonds are open to all, right? I mean, clearly what this shows is all parties have received donations. And if I were to look at, the split, I mean, for the amount of elections some of these guys lose actually at the, at the center and whatnot, I mean, they seem to have a disproportionate amount of donations received, right? I mean, like you mentioned, few of these parties punch way above their weight. All right, from one controversial topic to another. Last Monday, the Government of India announced the implementation of the much awaited Citizenship Amendment Act. This act allows persecuted minorities such as Christians, Sikhs, Hindus, and others from India's neighboring countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan to seek refuge in India. The implementation of this act has been met with a lot of criticism, with the opposition fanning flames and spreading misinformation, calling it anti Muslim and therefore inherently Islamophobic. Abhishek, there's a lot of chatter about this, but I think in many different forums, both the Home Minister and many of the other ministers have clarified. Right? In fact, I mean, I found Mr. Harish Salve's views very, very clear, crystal clear, and sane on this. Right? I mean, there's not much of a. I mean, there is no bias to Indian minorities as such.
Yeah, as you said, a lot of criticism and back and forth on media and social media. I think the government via the Home Minister Amit Shah, as well as other ministers and other, let's say, supporters of the government have tried their best, to let's say, put an end to all the misinformation or put at rest the various doubts of people. I think, for example, if you say the Chief Minister of Delhi, right, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, he went on quite a rant saying that millions and lakhs of people would stream in from the neighboring countries and cause issues of unemployment or violence and strife, etc., throughout India, conveniently missing the point that this is about providing relief to people who are already in India, right? The cutoff date as of now is pretty clear that it is 2014. So, I mean, one of the best interviews on this has been given by Harish Salve, right, on India Today, which kind of reminded me of Jordan Peterson's interview a few years back, where completely outclassed the interviewer. But if you look at the details, I mean, people are trying to uh, put up one strawman after the other to sort of create various doubts. I think the points are very clear. We have few countries in our neighborhood who are Islamic countries, and People from those countries have come to India over the years seeking refuge from their mistreatment, religious persecution, etc. in those countries. These people have entered India without valid travel documents, etc. Obviously, because they were fleeing persecution, they remain as undocumented people within the country. Uh, and this Citizenship Amendment Act seeks to provide certain reliefs in terms of the documentation required or the period required, right, to gain Indian citizenship. Normally, it takes 11 years. This for anyone to sort of seek Indian citizenship. This seeks to bring that down to 5 years for these people who have faced persecution. I mean, that's the only thing about it. The rest of it is pretty much fear mongering. You could say, maybe in terms of some valid criticism, that there was some sort of linkage to the NRC process that might have happened when it was initially being discussed in 2019. Right now, even the NRC process is totally on the back burner. There is no talk of that. So there is no question of linking it to that. And therefore, what the government has now done is provided the rules of operating the CAA amendment. They have opened website, um, and basically, as several state leaders have said that they will not allow implementation, etc. Basically, the government has designed the process in such a way that the states have nothing much to do in this process. There will be officers of the union government basically who will be presiding over the process, reviewing the documentation of these people, and so on and so forth, in order to provide them relief and citizenship.
Yeah, I think it's important to reiterate some of these facts, right? So, the first thing is that it concerns, as Abhishek said, people who are already here in India, right, from 2014 onwards. That is the first thing. Second thing is, it doesn't also prevent, let's say, a Muslim person from any of these
Yeah.
neighboring countries to apply for citizenship, right? I mean, they're all free to apply for citizenship. This only
The
fast tracks.
big thing is they have to firstly enter India with valid travel documents. That is, they have to enter through a airport or railway station or a seaport. These people have been given the special exemption that they may not have a valid travel document because they were fleeing persecution. That's the difference.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, in true Western fashion, prominent British people have called out India for its supposed Islamophobia under the pretense of holding the country to account, while the White House spokesperson, as expected, announced that the US will be closely monitoring the situation. Um, well, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think spokesperson of the Indian Foreign Service gave a pretty curt reply saying that this does not concern them at all, and so they should basically, mind their own business. He said that, of course, in proper diplomatic language, but I think India has already responded to that.
Well, all right. On Saturday afternoon, the Electoral Commission of India announced the terms for the Lok Sabha elections. The election will be held in 7 phases through April 19th to June 1st, and the counting will be done on June 4th. The CEC, Mr. Rajiv Kumar, said that this election will be held over 7 phases to accommodate security and manpower for the 96.8 crore or 968 million eligible voters across the country. Wow, Nirav, almost a billion people are going to vote in this elections, and of course, I mean it's going to be truly of an epic proportion for sure, right? And a lot of things at stake here. Yeah, I mean, what are you looking forward to?
Okay, so one is 7 phases. It's the same as what it was 5 years ago, right? What is basically people ask me, a lot of people overseas ask me, why do Indian elections take so long? So sadly, it is due to law and order and like due to moving of EVMs. And earlier there used to be booth capturing and all of those things in 80s, etc. So I think that is one thing. But like once the election is done, the counting due to the EVMs is pretty quick because each one is a calculator actually. So just a summation. I think they do a fantastic job. The election commission over the years they've done it quite well. Maybe I feel personally that 7 phases might be a bit too much. We could hypothetically do it quicker. We live in the age of smartphone and video phones, and if any kind of wrongdoing is there, can be captured pretty quickly. So that is one thing. But you see, certain states they manage their state elections, or even certain states have their elections only on a single day, single phase, which actually tells you something about the law and order as perceived by the election commission of that state, right? So one which kind of comes to mind is Gujarat, has it all on one day, and it has 25 seats. It's fairly, it's a medium-sized state, and with like a lot of sparsely populated areas as well, many remote locations in Kutch, etc. as well. But I think they're managing it quite fine. But maybe it's a more urban state, so that helps. And I think, see, one is India's population is the largest democracy for a while, but now the largest populated country. So our elections are always going to be bigger. Our population continues to grow. Maybe 65, 67% will vote from this. So maybe we'll have 65 crore voters out of the 97, roughly 96.8 or 97 crore voters. So eligible voters, maybe 65% or 70% might turn out to vote. Maybe if people believe, as like the rumors going on or like the chatter that it's a done deal, we might actually see a lower voting percentage. So let's see. But I would encourage everyone to try and vote. I know my constituency in Mumbai. I'm still an Indian citizen. I've lived abroad for 18 years now, but still an Indian citizen. And so I might actually come back and vote, see if like work and all the other schedules match. But let's see. And I would encourage everyone to exercise your right to vote. So hopefully that at least shows that your vote is not being misused. And it's going to be interesting. I think we'll the news cycle as we get closer. So key dates from April, there is the election dates 19th. Last phase is June 1st. Exit polls will tell you on June 1st. In India, the pre polls are not as accurate, but exit polls are reasonably accurate, are reasonably like more accurate. And the results we'll know on June 4th. So that is there. And not focusing on any political party. I think it is like each one has their right to vote, should try and exercise your franchise and just plan everything around it, right? So you know the holiday is there for people and like use it wisely. So find out your booths. I think the election commission does a great job. You can find out your polling center. You can find out if your name is on the electoral roll. Everything can be done online. I've helped like my family members and like a lot of senior citizens to make sure. And so yeah, it's all there. Help people around you. I would suggest help your neighbors, your relatives, people who may not be as tech savvy. A lot of India is very very tech savvy, but yeah. So I think this is all my simple suggestion. And make sure now also hopefully, given that there have been so many party splits, that it might be interesting to make sure you vote for the right party which you want to vote for. So do your homework as well. I'm being specific about like Maharashtra, Mumbai. So now there used to be 4 parties, now there are 6, and there are splits in Shiv Sena, there are splits in NCP. So vote for the candidate you want to. The worst thing is you go out and vote and end up voting for someone by mistake who you didn't want to vote for. So just do your homework. Make sure your name is on the roll. Go there and vote.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely encourage everyone to go out there and vote. And, unlike perhaps in the US or somewhere else, I mean, we do get a holiday, right? I mean, for that one day, which is pretty awesome, actually. Yeah, we're going to do a series of conversations leading to the elections on, politics, more specifically on, what are the issues going to be like, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, do stay tuned to our channel for that. Uh, all right, speaking of politics, a day after stepping down as Haryana Chief Minister, Mr. Manohar Lal Khattar on Wednesday resigned as an MLA from the Karnal Assembly constituency as well. Mr. Khattar has represented Karnal since 2014. He retained the seat in the 2019 Haryana Assembly polls. There are speculation that he may be fielded from the Karnal Lok Sabha constituency. Abhishek, another BJP Chief Minister, senior person stepping down, right? I mean, Mr. Khattar has been at the helm for almost 10 years now, right? What is the significance of this?
Yeah, so it seems like the BJP and its ally partner in Haryana, the JJP, could not sort of agree on seat sharing for the upcoming Lok Sabha elections. I think they were asking for two seats, and the BJP was like not okay with it. So basically, they decided to end the current, or which is now the previous dispensation there with Manohar Khattar as the CM, and they went ahead immediately after that to install a new government there, right, under the leadership of Nayab Singh Saini, right, who's a long-term BJP Karyakarta, right, and he was also an MP from Kurukshetra, so he is now the new CM from Haryana. He managed to win the vote of confidence as well on the 13th of March with the support of independents, etc. There was a voice vote. The JJP, I think, partially abstained from it. So they had no problems in sort of restarting, let's say, government and there with the new CM. And as you said, Mr. Khattar will probably now be getting into national politics via contesting for a Lok Sabha seat.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how the BJP can sort of reorder the old guard, right? I mean, whether it is in Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, or elsewhere. Yeah. We'll end on a very positive note. In a huge breakthrough, Prime Minister Modi on Monday announced the development of Mission Divyastra. This also came with the announcement that DRDO had successfully completed the test flight on Agni 5 with MIRV capabilities. MIRV, or Multiple Independently Targetable Re-entry Vehicle technology, is currently possessed by a handful of nations like US, UK, Russia, France, and China, and now India. This is a landmark weapon system that is set to alter the country's geopolitical and strategic position and significantly change the situation in Southeast Asia. And in more positive news, along the lines of security, on Friday, the Indian Navy intercepted and took back control of the transport ship MV Ruin. MV Ruin was captured by 35 Somali pirates and was being used as a mothership to run their operations. The operation, named Sankalp by INS Kolkata, had Marines jumping off a C 17 aircraft onto the ship, capturing all 35 pirates and rescuing all 17 crew members held captive. The operation was conducted nearly 3,000 kilometers off the coast of India, the farthest operation by the Navy, and it lasted about 40 hours. Nirav, we seem to be gaining a foothold in the Indian Ocean as well. So, very positive developments on both fronts, the MIRV and this operation in the.
Yeah, so one on the MIRV, right? MIRV stands for Multiple Independently Targetable Re-entry Vehicle. So multiple is you can carry multiple warheads on the same missile. So once the missile goes, it can shoot off one warhead and then shoot off another one, etc. while in its trajectory. And it's a targeted re-entry. So this missile once goes and then can come back. So I think that is a fairly advanced missile, kind of like all of this innovation will like trickle down to the rest of the country as well. So I think it's a fantastic thing. The lady is a lady scientist within DRDO called Sheena Rani, who's like headed this team. So that's also like a very big positive. Hopefully, makes all young girls who are like interested in science, technology, or defense encourages them to take it up and not be discouraged by any gender stereotypes. So that's fantastic. And lastly, on the recapturing of a ship by the Indian Navy. So the Somali pirates, as well as the Houthis, who are like in the Red Sea, they are affecting the trade and all of that in the Indian Ocean. And who does India? All of India state has to go through Indian Ocean. So I think having a strong navy helps our trade. This has been there since times immemorial. This is the British, the Portuguese, the Dutch, all of them had strong navies, and then they became trading superpowers. So that is one thing. Second good thing is that this has been done 3,000 kilometers off India's coast. So that's also showing our wider reach. So I think that's also another positive. So I think we need a strong economy which can support a strong defense system, army, navy, air force, and a strong defense research organization. so which can develop our own weapons indigenously. We are not reliant on others. You have to be Atmanirbhar. And once you have like a strong navy, strong defense, that in that sense also helps your economy grow to another level where you can go and trade around with all the international people. So I think rest of the world. So I think all of these are positive things. Each one in isolation may not sound that big, but it is, each one is a step in the right direction, and we are slowly, steadily climbing higher. So absolutely positive.
Right. Well, on that fantastic note, we come to the end of this Bharat Varta Weekly. If you stayed with us as long, do consider reviewing us on your favorite podcast platform. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe to this video and channel. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week with more news and perspectives. Until then, do stay safe, take care, and Jai Hind.